Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna, with her sharp wit and guarded heart, leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed, her black gaze exploring the room for an exit. Bridget, ever the optimist, fidgeted with the hem of her dress, her lovely features tinged with worry. Katie, the eldest of the three, sat rigidly, lips squeezed into a narrow line and fists gripped tightly in her lap. They were not strangers to one another or to Bill, but the gravity of the situation made them seem like adversaries in a game neither of them had chosen to play. The evening had began innocently enough, a dinner to commemorate Bill's most recent financial achievement, a merger that had solidified his empire's power. The women, each connected to Bill in their own way, had been invited to join in the fun. Luna, his ambitious protégé, had played a key role in closing the sale. Bridget, his childhood friend, was a constant presence in his life, a reminder of simpler times. Katie, his former girlfriend and now uneasy confidant, bore the scars of their shared history. But the dinner had only just begun when the doorbell rang, a powerful, resonant clang that sounded like a warning. The butler, a stern man named Harold, had brought in the stranger, a man in his late 30s, wet from the rain, his coat clinging to his thin body. His face was aged, not by age, but by something deeper, the result of a life spent running from or toward something. His piercing gray eyes latched on Bill's as soon as he entered the room. "I am the baby's father," he said, his voice cutting through the murmuring of the assembled guests like a razor. The words hung in the air, thick and unmoving. The room became silent save for the crackle of the fire and the distant rumble of thunder. Bill's glass paused halfway to his lips, and his jaw tightened. Luna's gaze widened, her mind already rushing to figure out the ramifications. Bridget gasped, reaching for her mouth, while Katie's face drained of color, her fingers pressing into the arms of her chair. "Who in the hell are you?" Bill demanded, standing from his seat, his voice quiet but menacing. The man did not flinch. "My name is Daniel," he responded calmly despite the chaos his comments had caused. "And I'm here for my son." The allegation seems ludicrous and unattainable. Bill had no children, at least not that anyone in the room knew about. Luna, Bridget, and Katie exchanged glances, each dealing with their own perplexity and dread. The baby whose baby? And why did this individual choose this time and place to make such a declaration? Bill walked forward, his towering stature throwing a shadow over Daniel. "You have some nerve going into my home with that story. You'd better start explaining, or I'll have you kicked out." Daniel's lips twisted into a faint, bitter smile. "Don't you remember me, Bill? But you'll remember her." He dug into his coat and brought out a battered photograph with faded but distinct hues. He handed it to Bill, who accepted it with a grimace. The photograph depicted a young woman, her face glowing despite the blurry quality of the image. Her hair was dark, and her eyes sparkled with a mix of optimism and defiance. Bill's countenance broke briefly before he covered it with a steely stare. What is this meant to prove? "Her name was Elise," Daniel murmured, his voice relaxing but yet carrying an edge of grief. "We were together years ago. Did you know her, Bill?" Luna leaned nearer, her interest outweighing her caution. "Who is Elise?" she inquired, her tone harsh. Daniel moved his eyes to her, then to Bridget and Katie, as if deciding if they deserved the truth. "Elise was my fiancée," he explained, "and she was pregnant when she disappeared." The word disappeared sent shivers through the room. Katie's hands trembled, and she flattened them against her thighs to keep them steady. Bridget's eyes welled up with tears, her empathy for this stranger's pain genuine and unrestrained. Luna, on the other hand, remained dubious, her mind striving to unravel the story before it unraveled everyone else's. "Disappeared," Bill echoed, his voice full of doubt. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything," Daniel said, his gaze fixed on Bill's. "I'm saying Elise was carrying my child before disappearing. I spent years seeking for her and our son. And all roads lead back to you." The accusation hung heavy for a minute, and no one spoke out. The fire flared, the rain hammered against the windows, and Daniel's words weighed heavily on them all. Bill's kingdom, which was founded on cutthroat ambition and closely guarded secrets, suddenly appeared unstable, as if one wrong move could send it crashing down. Katie was the first to interrupt the hush. "Bill," she asked barely above a whisper, "is this true? Do you know this woman?" Bill's jaw tightened, his gaze drawn to the snapshot still in his fingers. "I knew her," he said, his voice tight. "But it happened a long time ago. She was troubled. She left town and I never heard from her again." "Are you concerned?" Daniel's voice rose, piercing with rage. "She was not troubled. She was afraid. I'm scared of you." The charge hit Bill like a physical blow, and his expression clouded. "Watch yourself," he yelled. "You don't know what you're talking about." But Daniel didn't back down. "I know enough," he replied. "I know Elise came to you for aid, but then she disappeared. I know you had the money and power to make someone disappear. And I know my kid is out there someplace, and I'm not going to leave until I find him." Luna stood, her chair scratching against the glossy floor. "Enough," she whispered, her voice breaking the tension. "This is not getting us anywhere. If you're speaking the truth, Daniel, you need to provide more than accusations and an outdated photo. Where is your proof?" Daniel's gaze softened briefly, as if he understood Luna's request for clarity. "I don't have proof," he acknowledged. "Not yet. But I've got leads. People who saw Elise last reported she was going to this mansion. And I have this." He reached back into his coat and took out a small folded piece of paper. He passed it to Luna, who gently unwrapped it. It was a letter written in a rushed and shaky hand. The ink was smudged in parts, as if it had been scribbled in haste or under pressure. Luna read it aloud, her voice firm despite the rising anxiety in her chest. "Daniel, I apologize. I have to go. It's no longer safe here. Bill is aware of the baby's existence and is upset. I do not know what he will do. I'll try to call you as soon as I can. I love you." Elise. The room grew silent again, the weight of the message settling on them like a shroud. Bridget's tears overflowed, and she covered her face with her hands. Katie glanced at Bill, her gaze searching his face for answers he didn't provide. Luna folded the letter and returned it to Daniel, her expression unreadable. "Bill," Katie asked, her voice growing stronger, "what did you do?" Bill's eyes burned with rage, but there was also fear, or possibly guilt. "I didn't do anything," he insisted. "Elise was unstable. She came to me, but she was rambling and paranoid. I told her to go and find treatment. That's all." "That's not all," Daniel said, his voice low and menacing. "She did not simply leave. She was pregnant, Bill. She wouldn't have vanished without informing me where she was going." The dispute became heated, with voices raising and accusations flying. Luna attempted to mediate, using her acute mind to piece together the story's parts, but the truth remained elusive. Bridget, overwhelmed, excused herself and went to the guest room to recover. Katie stayed, her devotion to Bill clashing with her growing doubts. Daniel kept his stance, refusing to go until he had an answer. As the night progressed, the storm outside grew more violent, matching the chaos inside the mansion. When Bill went out to take a phone call, Luna, ever the investigator, started searching through his study. She discovered a locked drawer in his desk and opened it using a hairpin and some delicacy. Inside was a file, its edges yellowed from age. The name Elise Morgan was written on the front. Luna's heartbeat quickened as she opened it. The contents included bank data, a leasing agreement, and a sole photograph of a newborn baby wrapped in a blue blanket. There was no name or date on the back, only a scrawled message that read safe. When Bill returned, Luna confronted him with the file in her hand. "What's this, Bill?" she demanded. "What have you done to her?" Bill's face turned pale, but he didn't dispute it. "I didn't hurt her," he explained, his voice low. "Elise was complicated. She came to me pregnant and afraid. She claimed the infant was not safe and that Daniel was harmful. I helped her start afresh by giving her money and a new identity." "Dangerous? I don't know where she is now." Daniel's voice rang throughout the room. He'd been listening from the doorway, hands tensed. "You're the one who made her flee. You're the one who took my son." The reality appeared to be a complicated web, with no one in the room holding all of the threads. Was Bill the villain Daniel thought he was, or had he sincerely attempted to help Elise? Was Daniel's anguish leading him to imagine conspiracies where none existed, Or was there something deeper at work? And where was Elise now? Was she still alive, hidden someplace with her child? Or had something more horrible occurred all those years ago? The night concluded with no answers, only more questions. Daniel departed, vowing to return with proof. Luna, Bridget, and Katie persisted, each dealing with their own doubts about the man they believed they knew. Bill, for his part, remained silent, clutching the photograph of Elise in his hand. The rain continued to fall, wiping away the remnants of the night's discoveries, but the shadows remained. Secrets murmured in the walls of the cliffside mansion. And the truth, like Elise, remained just beyond reach. I am the baby's father. The words shook the calm air in Bill's mansion like a thunderclap. Everyone froze. Luna's hands came to a halt above the teacups, Bridget's mouth dropped open, and Katie's gaze shifted between the stranger and Bill. For a moment, the only sound was the steady tick of the grandfather clock near the window. The man who had spoken stood just inside the doorway, framed by the low light of the rain outside. His coat dripped wet on the marble floor, and his eyes glowed with a combination of shame and determination. Bill slowly stood from his armchair, his entire body radiating incredulity. "What have you just said?" he ordered, his voice low and calm, but his jaw tightened until it seemed like it was chiseled out of stone. The stranger stepped forward, unflinching. "You heard me," he stated. "The child Luna is carrying, it's mine." Luna's breath caught. "That's not true," she said quietly, but her voice shook just enough to catch everyone's attention. Bridget glanced abruptly toward her, her face perplexed. "Luna, what is he talking about?" Luna's eyes glistened as she glanced at Bill, then back to the stranger. "I don't know why he's saying this," she whispered. The man took another step forward, disregarding the accusatory eyes. "Do not lie, Luna. You remember the night after the charity event, when you came to the hotel because you couldn't take Bill's coldness any longer." Bill's face blanched. He stared from Luna to the man, his disbelief becoming to hatred. "You'd better start explaining," he murmured, his voice trembling under control. Luna's lips parted, but no words emerged. Bridget, always the first to react, clinked her glass. "Someone tell me this is a joke," she explained. "Because if it isn't, things are about to get very ugly." The visitor removed his coat, showing a magnificent suit beneath, the kind worn by men who weren't strangers to riches. His dark hair, damp from the rain, framed a gorgeous yet sad face. "My name's Marcus," he said. "I'm Marcus Hale. And I am not here to cause trouble. But I couldn't let this lying continue. Luna and we were together. Briefly. I had no idea she was still with Bill back then. I didn't realize she was pregnant until weeks later. But once I found out, I had to come." Katie, who had been standing quietly near the window, crossed her arms. "This is insane," she stated. "Luna would not do that. Bill, tell him to leave." But Bill did not respond. His attention was locked on Luna, whose tears were softly falling down her cheeks. "Luna," he whispered quietly, "tell me he's lying." Luna took a hesitant breath. "Bill, I never intended for any of this to happen. I assumed our relationship had ended at that point. You were gone for months, and I made a mistake. I didn't know how to tell you," Bridget said, her fingers leaping to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. Bill turned aside, his hands clenched. "So it's true," he mumbled. "After everything." Marcus took another step, his voice softening. "I didn't come here to wreck someone's life. But if there is a child, I must know." "I deserve to know," Luna said, shaking her head. "You do not comprehend. According to the doctor, the timing is off. The baby is Bill's." "Prove it," Marcus replied. "Paternity tests. You can't expect me to go away without knowing." The storm outside grew louder, rain pelting the windows as if mimicking the chaos inside. Katie approached Luna and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to say anything else tonight," she muttered. He should leave, but Bill's voice broke through the tension. "No, he isn't going away. Not until I find out the truth." Luna turned to face him, pale. "Bill, please, enough," he said, his voice breaking. "You have lied to me. You looked me in the eyes every day, knowing what was looming above us." "I was terrified," she cried. "You'd have left me. I didn't want to lose you." Bridget stood between them, her tone stern yet gentle. Stop this before you both say something you'll regret. But there was no turning back now. Bill's rage had evolved into something more profound. Betrayal combined with heartbreak. You've already lost me, Luna, he admitted quietly. The moment you decided to hide this. Marcus lowered his sight. I apologize, Bill. I never wanted to come between you. Bill turned on him, his rage returning. Do not pretend to be noble. Marcus just said. I knew what I was doing when I fell for her. Luna closed her eyes, tears spilling down. Stop, both of you. This isn't helping anyone. The room fell silent again, the tension palpable. Katie slumped into the sofa, hands covering her face, as Bridget walked near the fireplace. We need to calm down, Bridget finally remarked. This is a test. That is the only way this will end. Until then, speculation will destroy everyone. Bill sighed gently before nodding once. Fine. Tomorrow. We'll take the test tomorrow. He turned and walked out, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. Luna ran after him, but Bridget grabbed her arm. Let him go, she whispered. Marcus stood outside the entrance, mute, his eyes filled with remorse. I'll leave, he whispered softly. But I'll be back when you have the results. He slipped out into the storm, and the door slammed shut behind him. When the mansion quieted down, Luna slid into the nearest chair, her body shivering. Bridget kneeled beside her. You need to rest, she said gently. Luna shakes her head. How can I rest when I could lose everything? Katie joined them, her voice lower. Luna, whatever happens, we'll support you. But you must confront the reality. Luna nodded softly, peering into the flickering flames. I thought I could bury the past, she murmured. But it's come back for me. The next morning was dreary and cold. Bill did not come down for breakfast, and as a result, the home felt empty. Luna sat at the huge dining table with untouched food in front of her. The quiet was broken only when Bridget entered carrying a manila envelope. The clinic can take both samples today, she told me. The sooner we do this, the sooner you'll know. Luna nodded, her gut knotted. She could hardly breathe. When Bill eventually emerged, he appeared to have not slept. He did not meet her gaze as he talked. Let's get this over with. They drove silently to the clinic, the rain reducing to a light mist. Marcus was already there, waiting. He greeted them slowly, his face gloomy. The nurse accompanied them through the procedure, which was completed within an hour. Results will take a couple of days, she stated. Marcus turned to Luna while outside. No matter what happens, I don't want to hurt you, he told me. She gazed at him, tears glistening. You already have, she whispered. Bill didn't say anything during the way home. When they arrived at the mansion, he got out and went straight to his study, slamming the door behind him. Luna stood in the foyer, lost. Katie approached her carefully. He needs time, she explained. I know, Luna muttered. But what if the exam confirms him correct? Then you deal with it, Katie replied softly. And we'll deal with it with you. The mail arrived 2 days later. The housekeeper handed it to Bill, who glanced at it for a while before summoning everyone to the living room. Luna, Bridget, Katie, and Marcus huddled, their hearts hammering. Bill broke the seal with nervous hands. He scanned the paper silently and breathed shakily. It's mine, he announced finally. The baby's mine. Luna's knees buckled as relief rushed over her. She hid her face and wept. Bridget gripped her tightly, and Katie exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Marcus closed his eyes and nodded slowly. That's good, he answered quietly. I just needed to know. Bill glanced at him, his rage fading to weary disgust. You received your answer. Marcus hesitated. Now go. Before I begin, I want you to know that Luna deserves forgiveness. We both made errors, but she still loves you. Bill's visage darkened again. You've said enough. Marcus gave Luna a final, lingering glance. Take care of yourself, he added quietly before leaving.